In 2008, EA actually did a good job. They released a third-person survival horror game called Dead Space, a terrifying experience where you trek around in this abandoned spaceship, crawling with monsters just as a random engineer in hopes of finding what happened to your girlfriend and the ship. Dead Space released super quietly, but slowly as good word of mouth started making the rounds, the noise was so loud that it became pretty hard to ignore. Back then, I wasn't really privy to horror games, cause well, horror games are scary. But after beating my very first one in Resident Evil 4 for the Wii, I felt I had earned my stripe. I don't know who I was kidding. Look at me. I'm a complete So filled with this false confidence, thinking it can't possibly get any scarier than what's considered a GOAT in horror games, I decided to take a little gander at this aforementioned little Dead Space game, and man, it was scary. I have terrible memory, and I still remember the feelings of the 08 Dead Space made me feel. It's just this guttural feeling of fear, playing the whole time con el culo en la mano, as we like to say, meaning with your hand in your ass. I played scared, feeling what lies behind every corner. Also, everything around the horror of the original game was so good, and I just kept playing, even having sessions at night, which I really tried to avoid, but it's so good you just couldn't put it down. Little did I know back then that I was playing an all-timer, and this actually led me to the rest of the series and eventually becoming a fan. So in 2023, when EA decided to remake this gem, I couldn't possibly stay away. And now I'm gonna see if it's good, better, or worse than the original. So let's take a look at the Dead Space remake. The story stays the same, just with some added twists and turns here and there. You still play as Isaac Clarke, an engineer, part of a repair crew assigned to the USG Ishimura, a mining ship that has gone silent. Among the Ishimura's crew is Isaac's girlfriend, Senior Medical Officer Nicole Brennan. Once the repair crew board the Ishimura, they get attacked and separated by the necromorphs.
Oh no!
So now we must find out what the hell's going on the ship, rescue your girlfriend, and get off the ship. Because the first game's horror elements were just so good, it's just the setting of this dark, dingy, creepy ship crawling with nasty, vile necromorphs. I was having some PTSD while playing this game at the beginning. But the fears somehow quickly fade away. I don't know if it's because I'm an adult now and I feel nothing. Don't get me wrong, the game is still scary at times. The environments, the atmosphere are really impressive, and the scenarios are designed for fear. The 3D audio was very impressive as well. It's a new thing from the original that you can hear the necromorphs through the walls and around corners, and they would pop right in front of you, usually at the end of a corridor or something. That became a little predictable, like you see one on the ground and you think, okay, this one's definitely going to move, but everything else just sounds chunkier too with the 3D audio. So the scripted jump scares really didn't get me, even the ones I specifically remember from the original, maybe because I knew they were coming, but it's the unscripted ones that scared me. The unannounced pop-ups from behind. There's no build-up needed. It's just so dark and dank that if you turn around or walk up a ramp without aiming, which is your only light source sometimes, and a group are just sitting there where you don't expect them to be, that scared the crap out of me a few times. Plus, the music is deceiving as well. They build tension up perfectly, but then nothing happens. It's like it's messing with you. Or it's completely silent and the fool just appears. But they don't necessarily feel like jump scares. It feels like they were just hanging out and you ran into them. To prove my point, this was the most terrifying part for me in the game. It is so stupid. I'm checking out these body bags, stomping them like a bad child. And as I leave, one of them clips on me. And because the body bags make no noise, I wasn't expecting that. And well, there's crap in my pants. There's a built-in stress engine in this game. They called it the Intensity Director. They said it's a way for us to control the stress level for the player to be sure that there's always something happening. It lets us control the emotion and tension and to always keep the player on their toes, to keep them careful. And what it is AI that dynamically triggers events on the fly depending on how you're doing to keep you on the edge. Developers said that there's over 1,200 of these possible events, from light flickering to audio cues, enemy spawns, and so much more. So it means that each of us can have a different experience. Horror games do kind of drain a lot out of me. They're not like action games or RPGs. I usually don't have long, huge gaming sessions with horror games. A few hours, maybe 5 max at a time, but I can't do all day sessions like some of the other genres. I think it's because I'm tense the whole time, so even my body feels it. Is anyone else like that too? Or do I just need to go touch some grass? Let me know down in the comments. The way Isaac moves and feels is believable, and he just feels like a real dude. It also helps that he talks this time around. In the original, he was a complete silent protagonist. Gunnar Wright reprises his role, and they even use his likeness for the character model. The zero gravity bits did almost make me want to barf sometimes, but it's not as bad as I remember. It could be because they actually used the second game's controls for that, which definitely helps. It wasn't a struggle or anything, it's just the motion of it and having things upside down really messes with my brain. Guns feel nice as well. Each weapon feels satisfying in its own way, and they each come with secondary shots, some that are new from the original. Most importantly, it's super fun. It's scary and tense to be locked in a room with limited ammo and 4 to 5 monsters coming at you all at once. It's dark as hell and you run around to kind of find a way to funnel them, usually down a corridor or something, and just unload until you either run out of ammo or they drop. It also helps that there's not a bad weapon in the bunch. It did take me some time to get used to the flamethrower. Early on I wasn't a fan of it and I wasn't even upgrading it, but I just needed to know when and where to use it. I'm sure it's different for each player, but that's what makes it really cool, that we each have different experiences, but I would use certain weapons on certain enemies to try to kill them faster. I did forget from the original how much I hated these little bastards. I'd rather face 4 of the biggest guys at once over one of these. The nodes come back, you find and use them to upgrade the rig and weapons, and there's some pretty cool new effects that you add to the weapons in this one. This system was used in the second game and I like that they brought it back here. You don't buy weapons like you do in the first game. I love what they did instead. They just give them to you. You find them during natural progression of the story, which helps your credits for sure. That way you're not missing out on a certain gun just because you're poor. I think my favorite gun could have been the Ripper because you could keep these fools at bay with one of the shots or easily shoot a limb off with the other, which is how they die, by dismembering them, which was a huge deal back in 08 and it worked perfectly then and it does again now. It's pretty messed up how you can shoot the legs off something and it just keeps crawling at you, super creepy. This time around, they made it even more messed up with the peeling system. As you shoot them, chunks of flesh are just falling off the bone as if they were cooked for 12 hours in an egg barbecue. This makes the shooting even more satisfying because you can actually see what damage you're doing to them. But like I said, there's not a bad gun in the bunch. Let me know what you like the most down in the comments. Using the stasis module while chunks and bits and pieces are just flying off the necromorph was very gnarly. But this would get me in trouble because it's so fun to shoot at them that sometimes you just have to run away. It's advice I often forget while playing horror games. I just have such a Rambo mentality. I'm not sure if this was on purpose or not, but it was easier for me to spot items without using the flashlight because everything has a light of its own. But I can't see if I'm not using the light, forcing me to basically go blind to find items, making it even extra scary. Very sneaky design there. There's a ton of audio and text logs to find, and they added side missions to kind of flesh out Nicole and Isaac's relationship through taped logs, giving you insight of what happened between them and to Nicole while on the Ishimura. Ammo is pretty limited, but item management never really was a problem. You can use the kinesis ability to use pipes and explosions, so there's always a way to kind of push through. Plus, when you do down a necromorph, stomping the corpses and search for more ammo never got old. The chunky splatter just sounds so great. Level design was great too. It all felt like part of the ship. None of it felt like rehashed or anything. They don't bombard you with enemies and boss battles either. So when they add a few more enemies or a boss battle occurs, it's a bit more scary. I've always loved the design of Isaac's rig with the vitals on his suit, and you can see the stasis module thingy too. I prefer that way more than a typical interface deal. Those usually just clutter the screen. Even on the gun, the ammo counter, like none of it is in the way. And it feels like part of the world. With the technology, it just makes more sense. And the game is pretty linear except for the side missions I mentioned. And they also give you a task at a time to either retrieve codes, go get an index with some information on there, retrieve a key card, repair something. Very simple and easy to follow objectives. And if you're dumb like me and still don't know what the hell you're supposed to do, you just tap the joystick and a literal line will guide you to where you need to go. I love when the rig would just get drenched in blood while in intense battle. They did a great job of making the game super detailed, but at the same time exactly how I remember it in my head. This is how I remember the 08 game, and we always remember things better than they actually are, or worse. So it's not until you see them side by side, in my opinion, where you get to see how much it was actually improved. It also took me a minute to realize that the game went full 2018 God of War route, with no cuts in the game. There are cutscenes, but it's all from Isaac's perspective, and it makes the whole experience a bit more smoother. This might be a little dramatic, but it feels more like I'm living through the game rather than watching it happen, because there's no traditional cutscenes to take you out of it. It's all by Isaac's side. There's a few difficulty ranges at the beginning and a new game plus that offers you an extra ending alluding to the second game that you unlock after beating it. I think they did what most strive to do when it comes to making remakes. They pleased the OG fans and created new ones. The only way you do this is by actually listening to the fan base. EA Motive remade Dead Space so well by taking things out that didn't work in the original and developing and expanding on already good ideas and mechanics that did work, not only from the first game, but the second game as well. They obviously didn't use a whole much from the third game, cause if you know, you know. But they completely remade it for the better in my opinion. When first announced, I felt what a lot of people probably thought is like, why are you even remaking it? It's not even that old. It doesn't need to be remade. But now that I played it, I'm glad that they did, and hope that they do the same for the second game, which is regarded as the best in the series by many. And hopefully we can get to the third one to be completely remade or overhauled, or just pull an Activision and call it 3, but it's completely different. That's what I would like. The Dead Space franchise has been away for a minute, and I'm just glad that it's back in rotation. But let me know your thoughts, all things Dead Space, down in the comments. When you're down there, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to always and forever, you do you.